Gashadokuro. A skeleton 15 times larger than a man is said to walk through Japan's darkest roads, built from the bones of people no one came back to bury. A Gashadokuro is not born from a single death, but from hundreds. It's assembled from the bones of soldiers and civilians who died in war, famine, and forgotten places, their bodies never recovered, never mourned, and left behind without even a proper burial. Their anger doesn't fade with death, their hunger does not disappear. It gathers, it hardens, and it takes form. It stalks the living who move alone in the deepest hours of night, announcing its approach with a dry rattling sound, gachi gachi, like teeth clattering somewhere above the trees. Then the hand closes around the victim, the jaws follow behind. It crushes lone travelers in its hands or bites off their heads before drinking the blood of the living. No weapon can stop it, no simple prayer can erase it, because it is not one singular spirit asking to rest, it is the hunger of countless forgotten bodies moving as one. It fades only when the rage inside is finally spent, whenever that might be. The Gashadokuro is what a society creates when it sends people to die, then looks away. But not all monsters are born from war. Jorōgumo. In old Japan, a spider that survives 400 years doesn't stay a spider. One famous legend places the Jorōgumo, the entangling bride, at Joren Falls on the Izu Peninsula. A farmer resting near the falls wakes to find silk threads wrapped around his foot. He pulls them away and ties them to a nearby stump. A moment later, the web pulls tight, tears the stump from the earth, and drags it into the water. The farmer only survives because he was not the thing taken. Years later, another man drops his axe into the pool. When he dives after it, a beautiful woman appears at the water's edge and returns it to him. She looks human, speaks like a human, and gives only one warning. He must never tell anyone what he saw. For a while, he keeps the secret. Then one night, drunk on sake, he speaks. By morning, he is dead. Only then does the truth become clear. The woman at the falls was never a woman in the truest sense. She was the Jorōgumo, a spider spirit wearing beauty like a disguise. In another telling, the man falls in love with her. He returns to the falls again and again, growing weaker each time. A priest chants sutras and saves him once, but the man cannot stay away. He even asks a mountain tengu for permission to marry her. The tengu refuses. He goes back anyway. This time, the silk closes around him, the spider takes him, and the water swallows the rest. The Jorōgumo doesn't need to hunt, it simply makes itself impossible to leave. The danger hides inside ordinary faces and ordinary rooms, because up next is the Rokurokubi. Some creatures in Japanese folklore don't rise from battlefields or ancient forests. They live in houses, they share meals, they sleep beside you. Rokurokubi appears to be an ordinary person. During the day, nothing separates them from a neighbor, a traveler, servant, or host. But at night, something changes. While the body lies still, the neck begins to stretch, slowly and silently, carrying the head through the darkness. In many accounts, the Rokurokubi doesn't even understand what it becomes. The curse moves while the human sleeps, often linked to punishment, hidden sin, or a life twisted by forces beyond their control. In other stories, the creature is far more aware, using its impossible neck to spy on people, frighten them, or drift through rooms where no human face should be. That is what makes it unsettling. The danger is not waiting in a cave or forest, it's inside your home. It's the person who offered you shelter, the host who smiled at dinner. When the lamps go out, you may wake to find their head hanging over you, eyes open, watching, upon a long neck. The Rokurokubi doesn't need to chase you, it only needs you to fall asleep first, completely unaware. Other horrors hide behind a mask of silence, and that is the Futakuchi-onna. There are stories in Japan about women who barely eat. They sit quietly at the table, take almost nothing, and seem to cost their households nothing in food. For a while, that silence looks like virtue, but in reality, the Futakuchi-onna is what that silence is hiding. One story tells of a miser who refused to marry because a wife would cost too much to feed. Then he found a woman who barely ate at all, and to him, she seemed perfect. For a while, the household stayed silent, but the food stores kept disappearing. One day, the husband pretended to leave, then hid nearby to watch. Next, this wife of his untied her hair, and beneath it, a second mouth opened at the back of her head, with lips, teeth, and a massive hunger of its own. Her hair moved like living fingers, pulling food toward the hidden mouth while it demanded more. Some versions tie this curse to cruelty, starvation, and a hunger denied for too long. The Futakuchi-onna consumes what the household tries to save, and even more. The horror is not only the mouth itself, it's the hunger that silence could no longer hold. Not all monsters look like humans, though. Some terrors choose to erase their human identity altogether. This is the Noppera-bō. There's a particular kind of fear that has nothing to do with claws or teeth. The Noppera-bō carries no weapons. It doesn't feed. What it does is far simpler, and somehow far worse. One of the most famous faceless spirit stories was preserved by Lafcadio Hearn in Kwaidan under the title Mujina. In the story, a man is walking alone at night near a moat when he sees a woman crouching by the water, weeping. Concerned, he approaches her, but when she turns to face him, her features vanish. The eyes disappear, the nose flattens, the mouth seals itself shut. Where her face should be, there is only a smooth, empty oval of skin, devoid of humanity. The man runs in terror until he finds a food seller's stall. He tries to explain what he saw, but the vendor turns to him slowly and asks, "Was it anything like this?" Then he wipes his own face smooth. That is the horror of the Noppera-bō. It doesn't need to tear the body apart, it breaks certainty and the mind instead. It targets people already uneasy, lone travelers on an empty road, fishermen out past dark, anyone aware of how late it has become and how far they are from anywhere familiar. It approaches looking human. Sometimes it even looks like someone you trust, but then it takes the face away. But some horrors are not born from the night, but from a single dying wish. Tenome. There is an old question running through Japanese ghost stories. What does a man become when he dies consumed by something he couldn't resolve? The Tenome is one answer, and it's not a comforting one. Its name means eyes on hands. Where the eyes should be, there's only smooth skin. Where the palms should be, there are eyes. Wide open, unblinking, scanning the dark with a precision that makes the Tenome more effective blind-faced than most creatures are with full sight. One origin story says an old man was robbed and beaten to death on a dark road. He never saw his attackers clearly. As he died, that failure stayed with him, the need to see who had done this. So when he returned from the dead, his hunger for sight had moved. His eyes were no longer in his face, they were in his hands, the last things he raised in defense while desperately searching the darkness. Now the Tenome wanders, sweeping its palms forward, searching for the living. It is one man's final panic, still moving after death, one injustice given legs, still searching for the answer it never got. Some spirits are bound by a different kind of ache. Hone-onna. Not every dangerous thing in Japanese folklore announces itself with sound, size, or sudden horror. Some walk quietly through lamplight, looking exactly like someone you might love, and that's precisely the point. The Hone-onna is known as the Bone Woman, but she doesn't appear that way at first. You might be sensing a theme here. She is the ghost of a woman who refuses to accept that she's dead. She returns to the living world dressed and composed, wearing the same face she had in life. To ordinary eyes, she appears completely human. One famous telling involves a man in Edo whose dead wife begins visiting him every night. She comes late, stays until early dawn, and leaves before sunrise. His neighbors notice that he is growing thin. His friends watch him weaken over the course of weeks. Eventually, a wise man from a nearby temple visits the house and watches from outside. Through the paper screens, he sees not a woman sitting with the man, but a skeleton. Its bony arms wrapped around him, its empty eye sockets resting against his shoulder. By the time the man understands what is really happening, he has almost nothing left to lose. The Hone-onna doesn't kill out of malice. She kills because she can't let go. Then there are demons who need no disguise whatsoever, because it is the Shuten-dōji. If Japanese folklore has a king of demons, it is Shuten-dōji. He didn't hide in shadows or stalk empty roads. He built a fortress, filled it with oni, and ruled from Mount Oe like terror had become a form of government. His name means drunken boy, but there's nothing small about the legend. In some versions, young women began vanishing from Kyoto, and the trail leads to Shuten-dōji's palace on Mount Oe. There he appears strangely handsome, almost human, drinking sake while the women he kidnapped remain trapped inside. He doesn't look like what he is, and that makes him harder to confront. The legend centers on the warrior Minamoto no Raiko, sent by the imperial court to end the demon's rule. Raiko and his companions disguise themselves as traveling monks, enter the fortress, and offer Shuten-dōji poisoned sake. He accepts the drink, and once it weakens him, the warriors strike. They cut off his head. But even then, the severed head flies forward and bites at Raiko, stopped only by the helmet protecting him. Shuten-dōji is not just a monster. He is a demon powerful enough to rule, feast, deceive, and still be dangerous after death. Whew, that was a doozy of a list. A lot of creepy ones in there. Let us know what you think about these in the comments down below, and hey, let us know about one Japanese folklore story that you think we should know about. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.